Oh, greetings to the world. Greetings to the world. Hey, I am still Cam, and this is still the Real Resilience Talk podcast. I'm coming to you from the low country. I'm coming to you from the land that God forgot, where the sand is blazing hot and the 18 inches deep. The sand is blazing hot. I just messed it all up. Hey, I'm coming to you, talking to you from Paris Island, where they make marine. And on this episode this evening, as I'm recording this live on the East Coast in mid-November, got a really good friend, a great warrior, a great protector of the Constitution and our way of life, and just an overall, like I said, resilient warrior. And Mr. Cliff Reynolds, everybody, hey Cliff, hey, there you go, Cliff, hey. That's the crowd right there. That's my MC ability. But listen to my Chichi Rex right quick. There it is, second wins, y'all. Got to look it up. My man's got some good music out there. Thank you, Rex, for letting us use that track for this. But we can go ahead and get into it. Hey, like I said, I'm Cam, and I've told y'all before many a times to the point of nauseum. I define resilience as what Stallone said in Rocky 37 or whatever it was, where he said, "Ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." Right. So we're gonna take hits in life. How do we keep moving forward? That's my take. Y'all done heard that shit. But we're not here to hear from me. You hear a little bit from me because y'all know I ain't too quiet and I ain't shy. We're here to talk to Mr. Cliff tonight, man. My man Cliff, how you doing, man?
Thanks for having me. I tell you, I like the
Not
intro
call
music.
me no sir, brother.
Yeah,
You like that jam?
Well, yeah, it's no Jackie Wilson or Sam Cooke, but I like it.
Oh yeah, man. Ain't no Sam Cooke, man. Talk about Sam Cooke. Keep moving on. That's resilience right there, man.
Yeah, that I remember in your garage about probably 300 yards from where you're staying. Yeah, probably like a half mile.
Maybe,
Listen
yeah, ish.
Listen to some Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson in that garage.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We used to call that the well, I'm not even gonna say what I called it. I don't want to be inappropriate, but it was the spot where a lot of G's used to kick it at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or at least we thought we were.
Thought we were.
Yeah,
Young
we
and
thought
dumb.
we were. Yeah, young and dumb. It's like that meme you posted the other day. It was like, "Dad, were you ever part of a gang?" And then you just see a formation.
the best gang there is.
That's it, man. That's it, man. I mean, we devil dog, man. We protectors of this Constitution, our way of life. You can love it, like it, whatever, but we defend it, and this what makes us us, man. But talking about this subject of resilience, man. Even before I knew you, and then I knew of your background, you were definitely a symbol of that. And then from there on, you continued and still do continue to thrive. And I'm not kissing up to you, but I admire you a whole lot as a man, as a husband, as a father, as an American. Just as a warrior, the stuff you do in your community. How do you define resilience, man?
Wow. First, I got to tell you how much I appreciate that question because, I'll be retired 9 years in December.
9 years.
9 years. Blink of an eye. But a million cracks in my bones, let me tell you. But you don't get to talk or answer those questions much once you retire. So to get that thrown back on my doorstep and to think about it, one, I appreciate it because, you kind of forget how much you talk about resilience and the emotional or mental or spiritual side of being a warrior or being a Marine. So I miss these conversations. So first and foremost, thank you for that. But resilience, I tell you, how do I define it? Right. So, for me, and who my daddy raised, right, I guess, but real resilience is moving forward without a direction. It's making a decision without the answers, right? It's empowering yourself to lead others when you're unsure if they want you to lead or if they believe in you. Real resilience is fear. Real resilience is unknowing. It's easy to make a decision when you know the answer, right? It's easy to lead when you have a bunch of dudes telling you to, hey, lead me.
Right.
It's easy to drive somewhere when you got all the directions. That's not real resilient, right? And being a Marine and compared to what I do now, being retired, most of the things we prepare for in the military was to lead in the fog of war where you don't know what's going to happen. And I think the Reynolds DNA kind of built that in me. My dad built that in me. The Marine Corps shined it up real well. More tools, but what I believe resilience is being able to act blindly and do it with confidence and passion, I guess, when you just don't know what's on the other side. And that's a decision, it's an action, it's a dream, it's a hope, it's trust, I guess.
Yeah. And trust and hope in yourself, right?
That's right. Yeah. 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 And like Mike Tyson says, right? Everyone's got a plan to their punch in the face. So,
That's right.
then part of resilience is taking that first step, right? You're not even at the 1 mile mark to adjust your gear, and all of a sudden, like, you're punched in the face, and you're like, man, what do I do now?
We wasn't even ready, man. We about to do gear check.
Everything I thought I was going to do, it was the best plan ever. Everyone was following me, and it went to shit real quick.
That's right.
And having to just pivot and be agile, and then do it with less time and less resources to build a new plan or make a new decision and act. That's real resilience.
No, I love that you say that and that you express it in that way. And what reminds me of, and I just had the privilege today of talking to, the people who make this island run, the heavies, the experienced drill instructors, that lead green belt on a team of drill instructors. We all know everybody has their role, but that is the point guard, that's the quarterback, that's the boss, right? And I had a privilege to be able to speak in front of a group of them today, and we were talking about this very thing in regards to ethics and into, we talk about these subjects in peaceful times and in comfortable times. So therefore, like our system 2 and system 1s of our brains, when it comes down to having to make the system 1 decisions, we train system 2 so much in our conscious that subconsciously we know, as you just described, no matter what's in front of me, no matter what, if it's convenient or not, I'm going to keep moving forward. And what it reminds me of, and what I got to recite to them today, is that quote, what I had Cece in front of on the National Mall, Dr. King, where he says, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands a moment of comfort and convenience. It's where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. That's who we are. That's when we show who we are, our mettle, right? That's when we show, Rocky V, when the credits run, it says the measure of a man, the Elton John song, right? It's hard. Yeah. It's real. And sometimes you have to do exactly what you said, which is, I don't have a perfect plan. I don't even know what the fuck is coming next, but I'm going to take this next step. And maybe I don't know the whole journey or the whole, half mile or 10 mile journey, but I do know that I'm putting this next step in front of me as best as I damn can. That's all we can do, man.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I tell you, like, what a privilege you have to talk to a bunch of EDIs, right? Like, I remember being that guy with that belt on, feeling so confident about the training schedule, right?
That's right.
And being still so raw when it comes to life and and being a husband and being a dad but when it comes to Paris Island and the training schedule, man, I do it blindly backwards on my hands. So
they got that down. Yeah. That's for sure. That's
right. But I mean, it's great. Like, and this is just another notch in their belt that's going to help them grow. I tell you, like, I tell people all the time, it's one thing to be a Marine. I love being a Marine, but, the finishing touches, right? Like, if you think about an assembly line and, Lean Six Sigma, all these, business processes out there, like, to me, who I was professionally, being a drill instructor was like the finishing touches for me when it comes to leading and fortitude and resilience and just so many different things you see. So, man, I tell you, I wish we were doing this podcast face to face. Wish I was down there right now.
Oh man, I wish you was here too. But soon enough, we're believers we're believers in the legacy of our Corps. Last week got to swear in one of our own into this who's enlisting. We have children who are now taking on the cloak of service and the privilege and the burden of it and all the responsibilities that come with it. A lot of time, and that's on that point right there, talking about being down here. I know you'll be down here soon. Um, a lot of service members from our generation, like the legacy rates are declining as far as people saying they don't want their kids to join, and I can't disagree more personally, especially when it comes to where we are and what we need, and it's not perfect, but this life is worth it, and I just think that there's beauty in the struggle and there's beauty in service to something bigger than you, and I think that is I think it's something that we all should want to do, but I don't want us to be forced to do it, right? I don't want that. I don't want to draft. I
Yeah.
don't want everybody has to serve. I don't want that. But the willingness to want to, if you're out there, if you're listening and you're a young person and you're like, man, I just need some direction. Like there's many ways to get an education. That's what I told my child recently when she wanted to join. Like, yeah, you can go to college, you can get that kind of education. That's good and that's fitting and it's not going to make you any worse. But right now, maybe it's better to get a different kind of education. And service to your country, to your brothers and your sisters, man. And it's not just
Yeah.
being a drill instructor. You've been many of places and you've been through many of experiences where sometimes we're not fighting for that actual cause or that piece of legislation or that strategical reason from the national thing. You're actually just fighting for the person next to you. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. To kind of bring it back a minute or two, like, so
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, man. I
my
put the
second
AD,
oldest
I
daughter.
put the high definition ADHD. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure. Listen, that's a great talking point that I want to add to, because my second oldest, she steps off of the crucible on Thursday, so that'll be November 16th, right? So and that wasn't plan A, and I didn't endorse that as plan B. And maybe it was my own spin, but and they're my two oldest are girls. My third's my son, and then I got a baby girl. But I just kind of wanted them to do something different, and maybe it's because my own selfish side that I've lived that life. I know what it has. I wanted them to be like, go to like Juilliard to be in a drama or something. Like
Hmm.
I wanted their life to be an appendage of my own, of a bunch of different experiences. Maybe looking back now, that's how I see it. But Gracie, we're in Okinawa, 2012, and she's 8 years old and telling me like, I'm gonna be a Marine, Dad. I'm like, nah, baby girl, no, you're not. And then I retire, and we get home, and she's got the college acceptance letters, and I'm encouraging her, right? Like, go to NYU, go to Penn State, all of these things that she's accepted into. And she was marching along, but she pivoted on us, and last minute was like, I'm not going. And it shocked me. And then at that point, once the decision was made, I was like, all right, we're all in. Let's get you ready.
Right.
But so now, 9 weeks into boot camp, I'm getting these letters, and what I see is a child turn into a young adult. But more than that, I see a person who's blossoming in life, right? Who loves the daily challenges, who loves being a part of something bigger than herself, who loves the idea of maybe if I'm by myself, I'll quit. But because people to my left and right are dependent on me, I'm going to give every ounce of me. And she's unlocked a gear that she never knew existed, that we all know, right?
Right.
You wear the boots and got the name tapes, like you've found that gear. But she found it. And what I've now, we've got to this place, and I'm happy for her. But at the same time, I was there right when I retired. I remember being like, who am I? What defines me? I wasn't, it took me a while to kind of find that sweet spot of like what drove me and what I did
Yeah.
for a living, because what I was a Marine, right? And I couldn't do that no more. And, I was educated, I had certifications, I had a career, and I made a lot of money. But I wasn't happy. So I've now seen my 18-year-old daughter who's thriving because she's where she belongs. And oh, like, how is that a shock to anyone if she's my daughter and has my DNA? Like, and I get these letters and I hear her say, I can't explain it, Dad. This is the hardest thing I've ever done, but my heart is happy and my soul feels light. Like, I think that's the exact quote I got from a letter from her. And I
Wow.
thought, like, I was influencing her decision and her path. I wanted her to go to college. I wanted her to do a different thing. And that's not who she was. I was grabbing the fish out of the water and throwing it in the air and asking it why I wasn't flying.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
well, because
Yeah.
I'm a fish,
Right. Right.
and my daughter's a Marine. Man, she's going to earn the title this weekend, but
Yeah.
deep down, that's who she was. I saw it as an 8-year-old playing soccer on Camp Courtney. She just running until she passed out. Like, that's a true story. Like, her coach picks her up, who, by the way, was my senior drill instructor as a recruit.
Wow.
Great
You see
story.
this full circle
Master Guard
here?
Sergeant Manzano.
Wow.
Unreal.
That's
He's coaching
crazy.
her, and all of a sudden I look over and he's carrying her across the field because she had ran until she just passed out in Okinawa heat. And I don't know. I look back, there's little signs like that. But anyway, sorry. Like, I just,
No, I love it, man. I love it.
she's serving. She's found her happy place. The Marine Corps got another Reynolds, which is pretty cool. And I'm excited to see, what she does with her service.
No, it's beautiful. And you know what? The thing that you're going through this hard thing you've never been through before, the hardest thing you've ever been through, but yet your spirit feels light. How is that even, to somebody who's not in the thick of that or hasn't experienced that gear transition? That doesn't make sense. But it's like the strength of the group, of the unit around you. Humans need humans, man. It's just what it is. It's just humans need humans.
Yeah.
But I also love that you said the daily, because as we transition, especially for us old heads, and we're on the other side of it, how do you get that fulfillment? How do you maintain that? Because where she's at right now, where my daughter's going to be soon, it's fulfilling as fulfilling can be. Sometimes it's overfilling, right? Because there's so much coming at you, right? But then we talk about sustaining that and maintaining that drive, and then that that commitment, and then that daily challenge, that daily grind, not just while you're on active duty or whatever it is, or not just while you got the scholarship and you're playing the ball, but like after that type thing. And it's, I know we're talking Marine Corps specific because, ladies and gentlemen, that's our particular experience and that's what we know, right? We can only speak from what we know from, but this applies to everybody. And it's about keeping that tank full and about keeping yourself full and fulfilled, because you said yourself, even after it, you were making money and all those things, and you had the accomplishments, you had the accolades, but you weren't really happy. And I don't think we're ever really happy, but what it reminds me of, and what I feel like that young lady is experiencing right now, is what Dr. Viktor Frankl said, which was that, and he survived 5 concentration camps. 5, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 concentration camps. Whole family murdered by the Nazis. And he said, for success like happiness cannot be pursued. You can't pursue it in and of itself. It must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself, or as the byproduct of one's surrender to a person other than oneself. And what I'm saying there is that we can't find it just, I want to be happy. You're not going to find it like that. But you can find it in trying to help and serve a cause or serve others, whether it's where these young ladies and young gentlemen are right now, coming through the recruit training process or whatever it is, or old head serving on the other end of it, or now after, as you transition to the civilian side, to First Civ Div, still serving. Did that help you at all, that factor of finding happiness again afterwards with serving and helping others or volunteering or anything of that nature? And I know I'm leading the witness here, but if I'm off, just tell me I'm off. But I've known too many people that get out and they go fishing. Huh?
I don't object. I don't object. Who's going to carry the boats, right? Yeah. So I don't object. You can lead. Who's going to carry the boats, right? David Goggins. People can say what they want about him, right? Says, wake up and do something that makes you miserable every day. There's something to that. Like, that guy is extreme, and I got respect for him because of many different things. But there's something about his path of misery that makes him happy, where I can't speak for others, but I retired And, like I retired chief warrant officer, but 85% of my career, me and my family, qualified for WIC, because that's, we all eating government cheese because we ain't making a lot of money in the military. And say what you want, but what kind of drove me was like, man, I can make what money? Um, and I lost that. I wouldn't say I lost it, but I lost focus on some things that I did that became a habit that I did my entire life. And some of that was just,
every
being
day,
up before the
every
sun's
day.
up and just, rent's due every day. And I wasn't doing that. Yeah. And, I'll be honest, like it's the last couple of years is I've tried to find something to do that makes me miserable, and a lot of it is physically because my body's hurt so bad now from 14 surgeries and things like that. But, yeah, I retired 9 years in December. And what's funny is, unfortunately, but a lot of people have called my life like a Forrest Gump life. Like I've played Power 5 collegiate football. I've was a drill instructor, right? I'm Marine, enlisted, chief warrant officer, and I guess I'm a guy that just kind of says, what am I doing next? Like I need an Everest to climb. I need a safari hunt. Um, I need it. My heart, my soul needs it. And the same thing kind of applies in my 9 years of retiring. I retired, got involved with Fortune 15 companies running merger and acquisitions for them. $9-7 billion acquisitions. They're buying companies. We've got an 18-month window to acquire, merge them when it comes to, global trade and demand, their IT and infrastructure and cybersecurity, like their entire network and operations, logistics, have it all merged, be seamlessly operating with the parent company, until these tax incentives, you get X amount of months to the, you don't get hit with as you merge in before you get penalized. And, um, and I think I landed there because I could take verbal abuse and not get my feelings hurt. And not that that happened a lot, but when you talk about that much money and that many moving parts globally, there was a lot of hard conversations and a lot of moving parts and a lot of on Thursday, hey, Cliff, we need you in Stuttgart, Germany now, and don't come back till it's fixed. And that was kind of cool, to be that guy, fly over there and triage and, QRT team, and do all that. And I made a lot of money. I made a lot of money doing it. And I was in a lot of meetings with nameless faces.
Yeah.
I remember holding your son dressed as Superman for Halloween, when he was a toddler. I knew your family. I knew most of my Marines families. I knew a lot of my peers and my leadership's families. And then I get to a point where I know this guy, I've sat in a meeting with him for a year and a half and I don't know anything about him, and we leave this meeting, we don't say anything to each other besides the work, and we go get it done. And, I'm a salaried employee making a ton of money. I get some travel and adventure, even though it is for work, but, I felt hollow, right? And everyone's got their own center of gravity. I think that what moves them, but what always moved me in the military was people. And it was the service of people. It was leading people. It was mentoring people. It was, you see that photo flying around
Yeah.
social media of the father is a puzzle piece, and he's putting his son together with the puzzle off his body, and he's got a few more pieces left, right? Like that's the
That's right.
military.
Yeah, that's yours.
I got pieces of your puzzle you've given me, and other guys, and I've given pieces of me to different people, and at the end of the day, it's just that's what I needed, and corporate America never gave it to me. you can lead a large team, you can be responsible for a lot of people, but you're not. You know what they care about? They care that they're on track to get promoted. They care that, there's advancement. There was just something about it that didn't get me going, right? So, got away from that, like decided to go back to school to get my second degree in education. Got into coaching football. I started
But you're being very humble. Let me just tell you something. Like, he played
a youth
football, ladies
football
and gentlemen,
program
at the Ohio
out of
State
nowhere.
University. We had this thing
Football
called
is
retread, where somebody will be on active duty and they'll leave active duty and go back to the civilian world, and then they'll come back. This man is a combat veteran and a Purple Heart recipient for his services in Afghanistan, right? And then he gets out, because only us and inmates say get out, right? So he leaves active duty, and then he goes and plays football as a civilian at Ohio State University. And then is like, you know what? I'm going to gump this shit up. I'm going to go back on active duty and then deploy some more and then go and be a drill instructor. So that's just who you're talking to. So he's being very humble, but I wanted to just go ahead and plug that in there so you understand the voice in which you're hearing this come from. This, one of those things people could put on their life accomplishment list, but yet you've done all of those things and you're still yearning for more, because there is beauty in what you said about Goggins and I agree with this. You don't have to be a masochist and cut yourself or anything crazy or outlandish or anything, but there is nothing in this world, man, that you or I or anyone is proud of that came from a sweatless solution, that came from no effort, that came from no struggle, right? Like, the things that we're proud of, the things that make us us, he says it, to grow we must suffer just a little bit, right? So there's some truth and value. And I don't care if people get down with as far as extreme as they think David Goggins is, but just as you talked about earlier, your daughter unlocking something, you don't know it until you're actually there. So people, don't be afraid of the challenge is what I'm trying to say. There's beauty in the struggle and there's ugliness in the success, but I'm going to stop trying to quote J. Cole, but I wanted to lay that out right there. So you started the youth football program. You left corporate America. Tell me more, please. I want to try to steal your thunder. Just wanted to let it lay down.
Yeah. So I left. No, that's fair. I left my $225,000 a year job and became a full-time student to acquire a teaching salary of $42,000 a year. And I did it with a smile, and it's the closest thing of fulfillment I've had since being a Marine, because don't get me wrong, sometimes I want to treat high school kids like first phase recruits.
Right.
Get them online and fix them real quick, right? They didn't sign up for that. But I'll tell you, I haven't found many kids that I can't connect with, right? Like, and I'm appreciative of that. A lot of my new peers now finish in the top 25% of their school, went right to college, did 4 years, got a teaching degree, went right back into a district, maybe this school district I'm at, and they're leading, the leading kids of this community, and for the most part they're doing it well, right? But as a former Marine, I've led kids from inner city Chicago to the plains of like Kansas to El Paso, right? To first generation Americans to 10th generation Americans to like, and I'm so thankful for that experience because it's armed me with the ability, I think, to jump into any conversation,
man, that authentic part of it. That's so important.
And be relatable.
That's why it's called real resilience talk, because we're getting real about this shit, because you can't hold back. And this younger generation, they don't buy that fake shit. They don't want no PowerPoint. They don't want no motherfucking acronym. They want fucking real, genuine, real, being vulnerable. Am I right?
No, you're right on, man. And I tell you, like, I think my first cycle was senior, right? So, no, you're right on, man. And I tell you, like, I think my first cycle was a senior, right? So I won't on air tell you the heavy's name, right? But I mean, the solid Marine had been there. He had been there longer than me, right? I just, maybe my broken time, the first round, I know the first round was like, hey, you need to be a black belt. And I'm like, I don't care. It don't matter to me. But I remember having a conversation with him, and he got ridden for a couple cycles. And I pulled him aside. I'm like, hey, man, what are we doing? What do you mean, boss? I'm like, you look like you're miserable. Yeah, well, he kind of was. And I was like, listen, I want you to do it your way. Well, what do you mean? I'm the heavy and I got to do it like this. I'm like, no. What I'm telling you is don't do my job. Don't do the third hat or, the fourth hat's job. Like, here are your requirements as the heavy, right? That you got to do. Yes. I don't need you to play a role that you can't do, right? Because, people are going to see through you. And I said, I want to, do your job as a heavy, but do it like you. If you're not a screamer, then I don't need you to fake scream, right? Like, I need you to be passionate, right? You ain't gonna be a lover, right? But it was a great conversation, and I remember, that's a guy I still talk to now, and I thought he did a great job as a heavy. He ran the platoon, but he did it his way, he didn't do it like Campbell, he didn't do it like Reynolds, he didn't do it like some of those other guys that were there. He did it like him. And I think he excelled. And I remember him, he still talks to me this day, man. He's like, man, you might have saved me. He's like, I was not in a good place on Paris Island at the time. And, and the only, not for nothing, man, but the only way I'm able to save other people is because I've been saved, you saved me in my first cycle, running back to the squad bay, rolling by in the Lincoln.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, hey, man, get in. And I'm just like, yeah, right. This is a trick. Yeah, man, this trick. Yeah, right. And I got in, and I needed the conversation at the time. I had some self-doubt. I had some things going on in my head, wondering what I was doing there. And listen, we went 2 blocks, you dropped me off, but you say what you want, but
that's beautiful. And before
you're
we
able to
started
save
this,
people when you've been saved.
I was telling you about Matt that I had the episode with a few episodes back. But do yourselves a favor and listen to that one as well. But a warrior and his mother, we were talking about this, that these gifts that are given to us. She said to him, his mother said that, Matt, they're not for you; they're for the rest of the world, right? And what I've come to understand with that thought process, with that stream of consciousness, is the fact that none of us can do anything on our own as human beings. Even if you're religiously motivated, faith, all of those things, like those entities, those deities work through people, right? That's how we get things done. And no human being can accomplish anything on their own. So sometimes, and this has given me a little bit of peace and serenity with a few things I've been through in life, when you want to say, why me or why this? Sometimes we only go through things just so to do what you just said, that I'm only saved in this way because somebody else saved me in a different way, and now we pass it on. And I think that if someone's out there struggling with something that's occurred in their life, and you're like, why does this happen? I don't know why babies die. I don't know why all these things occur. Sometimes maybe just the only reason why, because when you stand in front of somebody, or you get in that car with that person, or you talk to that Marine like you did that time, and you're valid with them, and you say, hey, I'm not exactly you. I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I'm smelling what you're stepping, and I'm picking up what you're laying down. This too shall pass, and you're valid in that because you've experienced it. That's a gift. And it's an ugly gift, and it's a double-edged sword, right? But it's a gift that you can give back to someone else. So if you're out there right now and you're listening, you're like, well, I'm not a Marine. I'm not a drone instructor. I didn't go to combat. I didn't play football in a collegiate school. Look, man, no. All of us have a story. All of us have an it. Something like General Nella talked about a few years ago, where he said that all of us are broken our own way, and we never really get over it. And he put it in quotations. Like, we all have an it. And if you don't, you will, or you have, or it'll be there, right? But we can't be disabled by it and not be able to move forward by it. We need to be able to learn to cope with it, to be resilient, and to be made better by it, and then to help others through it as well. And I just feel like there's something there, like with sympathy, the connectedness of humans, whatever it is. Everybody can have their own beliefs on where the source is, but I do know that nothing happens on like just by itself, or nobody can do anything on their own. Like, we need each other to be able to pick each other up, and to help each other make that next step. Does that make sense? I know I just kind of went on a rant there, but that's steel sharpens steel.
Yeah. Now, in corporate America, they call that, yeah, corporate America, they say you're obligated to send the elevator back down. Now, what they mean by that is,
Right,
hey,
right, right.
when I go from being a manager to a director VP, like you got mentorship, you got this, like, hey, help someone else achieve a title. I hate to summarize it that way, but that's kind of like, that's where the meaning comes from, where, veterans, like I had that talk with my heavy, that cycle. I set the elevator back down because you sent the elevator to me, right? Like, there's a bunch of different ways to cut it or call it, right? But it's true, right? Like, you
Yep.
think about mankind thousands of years ago. We woke up hungry. We traveled for miles, hungry and cold, until we found something or killed something to eat. We never did it on
The
our
beauty of
own.
the struggle.
We woke up miserable.
Yeah.
We went
With
through
your
something.
tribe. Yes.
We were able to eat. We found food. We basked in that, right? You celebrate for a day or two, you get real fat, and then you do it all over again, right? Like with your tribe, with your misery, like humans are tribal people. And I'm a loner. So, I'm that guy. I'm the guy in a crowded room in the corner by myself. So, but I'm aware of that. And, but
Say that again, please.
what's
Please say that
crazy
again.
is,
Y'all heard this is breaking news. You don't
it's
need a
not
tribe,
just,
you need
it's not just you need a tribe,
your
is you
tribe.
need your tribe. You know, you, you, your tribe, right? Like you, you can't be a lion hanging out with gazelles. It just ain't gonna work. Like you're a lion, you gotta be around lions. If you're an otter, you gotta be around your otters. Like you look at the animal species, like they're doing something right. Uh, you're a wolf, you got a wolf pack. Like are you the alpha or you're not? Like, and if you are the alpha, you're gonna fight for it every day. But that's one thing that it's so hard once you retire, because usually we're all driven for geographic reasons, either for a job or family. And then what happens is you do your best. You do your best with the tribe you have around you, and it's a whole slew of animals, right? And here's what I struggle with. And say what you want, but former Marine, I'm retired, played collegiate football. I'm more of a lion than I am a lamb, So it is what it is, because God, country, core made me that way. So, but what's funny is there are times that you will dull your shine as a lion around other people because you don't want to offend the betas or the omegas because you're an alpha, and then you have those guys trying to. It's so hard because you said it, steel sharpens steel. What happens when what happens when you're the steel and everyone else is sharpening themselves off you,
Yeah,
right? It'll wear
yeah,
on
you're
you.
right.
It'll drain you. It'll drain you when you are the dude that everyone calls, right? Everyone's got that person they call. I'm going to call this guy. He's going to take care of it, And being the retired Marine, I was that guy in corporate America. Hey, Reynolds,
We
fly
get
to
it
Stuttgart,
done.
Germany. Hey, pick up this new project. Hey, this part of the acquisition is going slow. It's not in your tower, but you're going to take it on. And I do, right? Like, but if you're not, get it done, And I think that's why they love me, because there was no in me, there was no nothing. They can continue golfing, and I'm on a flight fixing it. But find your tribe, right? Find like-minded people, and that's So I'm in the education field, right? Like that probably doesn't make it sound like I'm finding my tribe, but being in education allows me to coach. It allows me to coach football, and that's my vessel now. And football players are they're my tribe right now. I did my time. I ran my Marine Corps like race. The race is done with me. I'm done with it. So that's kind of my tribe that I found. And social media has been great. Keeps you connected with all these people around the globe. But you don't get this interaction. You don't get an intro like this, like, hey, what's resilience to you? Like, you lose that.
And that's how we
The hip pocket
reinforce, is how we
PMEs that
keep
you
our
always get
norms.
in the Marine Corps, whether
So
it
are
was
you
in your
saying that
garage
it's imperative?
or in the
I'm
base
just trying
theater,
to
like
understand
that stuff is
that after
important
we
because that's
leave
your
a
tribe
job of
challenging you to be
service
better.
or a life of service in whatever field that was, because you're a product of servants, um, in your family and their service, right? Not specifically Marine Corps, but in other ways of serving, that we continue to do that, continue to have these conversations, continue to engage with people. Are you saying that? Because I think a lot of people, they just kind of be like, I want to be done with it. I want to be done with all of that. Like, I'm tired of it. But I think there's a lot of intangible things that, like,
Yeah.
even though you don't want to be babysitting per se, it's fulfilling when you're dependent on. And then when it's just gone, it's like, now what? Do I matter? And I think a lot of us tell their next mission, right? Like, we're addicted to service now. Like, you have to find, and it could come in coaching football. It could come in going and volunteering and working with elderly people at an old people's home. But if you're not doing something to serve others and the community around you, your tribe, I mean, what's the survey say?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Yeah, I think that's spot on. My circle around here would say that I run at a exhausting pace, and I think it's because I'm trying to find that
That's facts.
validation. Like, no more deployments for me, no more no more sergeants or staff NCOs ask me to pin them on or do the oath of enlistment. Like, that was a lot of validating of, oh man, Reynolds, you're my guy. You're my mentor. You're this. Hey, taking a platoon into combat, taking a whatever combat, company into combat, doing it's before 9/11. I have a buddy who's from Fort Lee, New Jersey. I talk to him every week. We did the Camp Lejeune endurance course, 4.7 miles through muck and mud, and team of 3. And I remember our first sergeant, his name's Brett LaCory. A lot of pieces of his puzzle I have taken and put into me, but we ran that and we started off and we like, I remember that we're getting ready to step off and we're, sticks are getting pushed, and I raised my hand, and at the time I think I was Lance Corporal, right? Like, and the sergeant was like, yeah, you question. I'm like, what's the record? He just laughs at me. What? What's the record? I know there's a record. He's like, oh yeah, the board's over there. You ain't getting it. I said, well, what is it? And he's like, yeah, it's like 27 minutes. I'm like, all right. I looked at my buddy. I was like, we're getting this, but that challenge, like, we didn't beat it, but we were close. But that validation of, like, man, that if that was a record, I got real close to beating it today. I had a good day, right? I ran a PFT today. I'm still first class. I had a CFT today. I'm still first class. The promotion list came out. I'm in zone and I got promoted. Like, there's so much different validation that is now gone. And so, yeah, Reynolds Flight of Stuttgart, got it. Hey, I know you were done after this acquisition, but we got another one, right? I did that $3 billion acquisition.
More.
It wasn't Parrots Island hours, man, but it was 77 hours for about 24 months and a lot of travel. And yeah, and I was supposed to be done. And it was like, oh, we got this $7 billion acquisition. And you're the guy, we need you on it. Okay, yeah, let's go. And yeah, to validate. And oh wait, there's not a youth football program in this town. My son loves football because dad loves football. Let's build one from scratch. Let's fundraise. Let's build bylaws. Let's do everything. Like, let's build the age division football from K to 6th grade. Let's get tied into the high school program. Let's build our brand.
Oh, we got a lot of zombies walking around, brother.
It's a lot. My wife looks at me sometimes. She's like, "What are you doing?"
There's a lot of people that are walking around, hearts beating, and they're moving, but they're not really living.
If I don't do anything, I'll die.
I think there's so much. There's so much in there, in the fact that like I forgot if it's
physically
Truman
die,
or
I
if
will
it was one
spiritually
of
and
the.
emotionally die.
I heard maybe it was Roosevelt. You want to either wear out or you rust out,
Yeah.
right? And I think that for a lot of us wired in this certain way, and even if you don't think, if you're out there listening, you're like, I'm not these guys. Well, find something that you are into, right? And you can be a service to others, because that service to others is so fulfilling that I feel the same way as you, that if I just like retired and went fishing, I mean, we've got countless friends. I got countless friends from active duty that have passed away from cancer after they've left active duty because they haven't done. And I'm not blaming them by any means. I'm just saying that blueprint of I'm going to get out and go fishing, or I'm going to finally be done. I don't think that's up to us to ask or to answer. I think life asks of you, and then you respond, and then you do the things you do. But you have to start somewhere, and it's. I love that you said that you started that foundation in that local football program, because that ties into exactly what this podcast started as, which was Maya Angelou saying, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude, right? But at least try. Don't just sit there and problem admire. Like, we do that enough, right? Stating a problem without a solution is called whining. That's Roosevelt. I know he said that, But if I'm not doing something to contribute to the cause of making other people better, and it's fulfilling, is it not? Do you feel worse after it? Do you feel worse after you do something kind for somebody? Never. Just never. You're one when we had that youth program.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Never. Year one when we had that youth program, right? Like we all get, most people have kids and they've been to the youth sporting events, and those stands are awful, right? They are awful with, armchair quarterbacks and dudes that, masters of football or soccer or whatever it is. And, we used to challenge adults all the time. Like, you want to make a difference? Grab the clipboard and clock in. Like, make a difference. Show us how impactful you can be, and I guess that's just who I've always been. I've always strived to have the responsibility. I wanted the responsibility. I remember going back into the Marine Corps, checking in my first platoon, and, I walked in, met the platoon sergeant, and within 30 seconds, I was like, I'm going to have your job in 2 weeks. And he's like, excuse me? I was like, man, nothing against you. You seem like a great guy, but let me have it, because your life will be better if I'm in charge. And he was like, you must be crazy. I'm like, I don't think I am. Like, I hear you guys are working early, working late.
For sure. And people feel threatened
PTing
by
a lot
you.
because you're out of shape. Like, give me the reins, man. Like, give it to me, because give me 2 months and we won't be working late or early no more, and we're gonna be in shape.
Love.
But that's kind of rough too, right? Because that puts a target on you always if you're that guy. Like, hey, and it has nothing. Oh yeah, and that had nothing to do with that individual. It had nothing to do with. And listen, I don't love leadership. I actually love followership, but I love that part, right? Like, but I have too much respect for leadership to allow it to happen around me without someone that's constantly striving for perfection or efficiency, right? So, like, there's times where I'd go places like, I don't want to be this guy. Like, I didn't want to start a youth football program. There was one in town. There was one, but like, not to go too far into that path, but like, it had large numbers. Second graders, 2nd through 6th grade, were all playing on one team. You had 7-year-olds getting tackled by 12-year-olds. Like, I did not want to start a youth football. No, and I used to tell them, I'm like, hey, listen, if this was a boxing league, you let that 7-year-old get punched in the face by a 12-year-old. Well, it's not boxing. Well, it's still football.
That's facts.
I didn't want to do that, right? I didn't want to show up to that platoon when I first got in and said, and want
Blah,
to be a
blah,
platoon
blah.
sergeant. You know what I wanted to do? I
No,
still kind of wanted to get back in the Marine Corps shape because,
the thing, the
like,
through line I see
I
is
wasn't,
trying
I
to
was in
make
the
other
gym, I
people the
was in
best
shape, but
versions
I
of
was in Marine Corps
themselves,
shape. I was
and
like, man, we go
that's,
on a battalion run right now.
there's a
I'm
million
going to
ways to
be
skin a cat and to get to
a
that.
little right at
But like,
throwing up
are
instead
you
of
making
lefting.
other people better in whatever you're doing? And I love when you said to
So,
those parents, like, hey, you want to contribute, dude?
yeah,
Get
man.
over here and run this drill. Get over here and pick up a clipboard, pick
Yeah,
up a
man.
whistle, right? Like, it takes a
Yeah.
village. And don't
Yeah.
let perfect be the enemy of good enough. And I say that to anybody out there listening right now who's considering, like, I don't know what I can get into. You got something to offer. And you'd be surprised, even if it's just like a 5-year-old soccer team, like little kickers or something like that. They have that now, like 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds playing soccer, right? I'm gonna get my little baby into it. But like, you just got to be there and have a good attitude. But you get so much from that, like the fulfillment of that, because of the effect you can have on those young ones. And you don't know where that leads to the next thing. But it ties back to, and maybe I'm biased because I thought about it today, and I constantly try to keep it in my mental, is, what Mother Teresa says. She said, if you want to promote world peace, man, go home and love your family. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to make the world a better place, like, take care of your neighborhood, take care of like the youth around you. What can you do? But too often we're focused on things that we can't control. National politics or the world stage, and these things deserve attention. They deserve concern for sure. But outside of voting, a lot of those things, you kind of ain't got that much control about it. And if you got such an opinion about it, why don't you do something to change it? But you can start right there locally. And that's what I was telling the Marines that I had the privilege of talking to today. Like, if you want to prevent sexual assault, if you want to prevent domestic violence, if you want to prevent substance abuse, love your family and love your Marines.
man.
Not be in love with them. That's weird. But take care of your people. And there's nothing wrong with loving people and taking care of them. And sometimes loving people is telling them, hey, man, you suck. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
You might have said it before.
Without a doubt.
Oh, yes, Admiral McCraven.
I can't
Yeah,
even tell you what
yeah,
rank he
Navy
was, but
SEAL
that
Admiral.
Navy
Yeah,
officer,
that's
I can't
good.
even tell you what school it
Yeah.
was. I wasn't even there. But one of the most impactful things I've heard over the last 5 years, it might have been more than that, but he might have said it before that. But in 17, I heard it, and I think he might have been at Navy graduation, but he just said, if you want to change the world, wake up and make your bed. And
Right.
yeah, that's right. It's out there, right? Like,
True.
and I heard that in 17, and that's, I'm easily influenced, right? And that's not, I'm not shy of saying that, right? Like, you can influence me easily, but like, no slum on the corner can influence me, like, to do, without, can't be, you got to inspire me, but I'll be influenced, and that's, it's out there, right? Like, that guy spoke to his audience. I'm pretty sure he thought cameras were on, and that inspired me, right? Like, to get up, right? Yeah, I want to change the world. Like, a lot of people, and that's, I don't want to say a lot of people, but some people get fixed about changing the world so they can be defined as someone that changes the world, and it's that big picture thing, and hopes and dreams quickly nosedive when you're shooting for that, right? Like, and I keep hearing you say, like, oh, you don't have to be a vet or active duty or a college player. Like, man, there's so many things we can do, between within 30 minutes. Like, that's my thing right now. Like, I wake up within 30 minutes, I'm doing 30 minutes of cardio. Like, and it's just what I'm doing. And I ran from it for years because my body's broken. I've had 14 surgeries, and 7 of them are from combat injuries. My body hurts. And I was like, I can't, I can't. And it's not, can't's not the right word, and shouldn't's not even the right word. It was just a process of what I was experiencing was not what I was used to experiencing when I did cardio in the morning, but waking up and doing that within 30 minutes and committing
That takes a
within
lot of
30 minutes to do
self-reflection.
30
That takes a
minutes
lot of getting to know
has
yourself,
been kind
and then
of,
that's knowing what's necessary. Like,
I ain't worried
I
about
mean, whether
anything
it's
else in my day, and my
antidepressant
wife
or
knows,
just
like,
your overall body moves or body
don't,
emotion stays in
we
motion,
can
you're gonna
talk
wear out or
long
rust out. Like,
range, 7%
you
solution
got to get
plans,
after
but
it, folks. And that
until I
may
get
be,
done with
I
what
mean,
I'm
you
doing in
didn't
the
even
morning, like,
describe
I
what
ain't
kind of
planning my day.
cardio it was. It could be
Because
some David Goggins shit,
if I don't
or
get
it could
that
just
right,
be
then I'm
getting
gonna
on an
fail everything
elliptical,
else.
or it could just be going for a walk. Get out and do something. Tell me. Get on it.
You know what's funny? I ended end of You know what I do? You know what I do? Really, the only thing I get on the Peloton, man. I get on a Peloton. I do like I get on a spin bike. You know what's funny?
Yeah.
I ended my time at Parris Island as I was waiting to go to martial school, doing spin like three times a week. And at the end of that tour on Parris Island, my body was so done from being on my feet. I mean, you know, like what we do there. That really the only thing that helped me move the needle forward without like, because I get out and run and I'd be done for a week because hurt myself. So I get on that spin bike, you know, and I remember he he's a major now. He's the first time XO. He was the S3O when I was getting ready to leave. He pulled me into it. But anyway, so here I am, like kind of free falling. Like I've got to wake up and be miserable. So I went. I got a Peloton bike, man, and you know what's funny is like I go in, I sign into some virtual class on demand, and they tell me when to go faster, when to add resistance. You know what that reminds me of? Get in the platoon, stay in one arm distance from the guy, 30 inches back to chest, and just not stepping on his shoes. And I can go
and you
run.
gotta
I'd run
do
3, 5, 10
something.
miles
Like
morning PT when I was a
I
young guy.
remember
Like, hey,
family members and
get in
I
line,
we
cover
did a
down
little
in a
thing called
line,
Do
and just
Something
run and
Challenge,
scream
where it
out
was
your
just like we're
face.
supposed
Like
to like
I get on
doing
this
something.
bike,
And it could
add,
be, but you also got
add
to be
10.
open-minded enough to doing that particular
Resistance.
thing,
Okay,
because
I
there's
add
a lot
10.
of,
Okay, hey,
there's a lot
go
of people
faster.
like, I
Okay,
ain't
go
doing no
faster.
yoga.
Like
Fuck yoga.
I'm
I ain't
like
doing
I'm
that's a
like
slog.
a
I ain't
honcho.
doing no
$5, I go
Peloton.
faster.
I ain't doing
Like
no
just tell me,
elliptical, right?
I go
Hey
faster.
man, you'd be surprised how helpful it can be once you kind of open your mind up and try something different. Because we stagnate and we can what we call plateau, right? And what your usual routine is. Or some of us, hey, we get a little bumps and bruises. I can't lift like I used to lift, but I'll be over there with 20-pound dumbbells doing about 50 reps. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but you got to do what's going to challenge and push you to be,
Yep.
uncomfortable, but also to be a better version of yourself, whatever that may mean for you. And that's going to change because we're going to evolve and we're going to adapt and we're going to, and if we don't, damn it, we're going to be a damn floppy disk or a dinosaur. We're just going to go extinct. You know what I'm saying? Like a floppy disk kind of lives on because it's still like it's a little symbol for save. But anyway, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? When we were young, we would focus on the process, right? Like I was that dude, right? Like Lejeune, I'd go get 1 hour, 1 hour stretch of the weight room at French Creek, walk right over to Anthony's Pizza, I think, and well, like I felt good because I'd go to the gym and I did gym stuff. Like where now I focus on the result, right? Like how do I maintain this body weight and this body mass index, body fat, whatever. I don't care how I got to get there, right? Like, I don't care. Like, as long, but I know the result that I can maintain in my quality of life. Because really, that's one, I don't want to be in any more pain than what I am in. But two, I know I'm 43. Like, what I do now will greatly impact how I am
Yeah.
in my 50s and
Yeah.
60s.
No, and I think
Like
that
what my
goes
body
to
can
other
do,
things as well,
what kind of
man,
resilience
because,
I
I've
have, what
shared on
kind of,
this
I
many a
mean,
times before,
you lose
and a
1%
lot of
of
people out here
your
hurting,
testosterone
and
when you turn 35
a
every
lot of the
year,
people that you
atrophy
alluded
in
to it
your
earlier,
muscles,
it's
like,
the people that you think have it all
you're
together.
fighting
They may be
age,
the ones hurting the
so,
most, right? And the
and
ones
that's
that
it.
everybody's
I'm just
running
worried about the
towards
result, and
for
I'm
help,
not
and
too
you
proud.
get burnt out and you get
I
exhausted.
don't care.
We talked about the physical, we talked about kind of the vocational fulfillment. But I also, I don't want to say suffer. That's a strong word, but I've dealt with myself over the years in ways to the same way, man. Like when it comes to my mental health, I like what Secretary Austin said recently. Mental health is health. Period. Mental health is health. Period. It's part of the whole thing. And sometimes we get there through the exercise, and sometimes we get there through the community service that we do and things of that nature. But I mean, for me, medication and therapy, right? And different things along that line, but still being willing to still try whatever may work and not being too proud. And I say that so directly, and I say that kind of as a sales pitch because somebody out there's listening right now and they're hurting and they're like, "Look, man, I'm down and I don't really want to fucking exercise no more. And actually, I don't even want to get out the fucking bed right now. I don't even really want to be alive right now if it wasn't for X, Y, Z, this or that, right? Like, what do you say to that person?"
Yeah.
December 30th.
Wow. Well, first thing I say is like, it's cliche, but man, I was there, right? Like, I I retired December 31st of
Folks, that's
14,
a lot of damn
2014.
chemicals.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't remember much until probably spring of 2016. I retired. When I retired, Navy medicine had me on 19 prescriptions. I had more chemicals in me than a public pool. I had more chemicals in me than the training pool at Paris Island. So, and that's all walks of life jumping in that. And that's right. You got so much chlorine in there to just defeat everyone in there from east of Mississippi. Anyways, um,
Love that,
I
man.
I would say that nothing that you do in your life should be permanent, whether that is a prescription you're taking, like nothing. Like, you want to talk about resilience? Resilience is the continuous evolution of who we are, because nothing can maintain any status quo for an entire lifetime. Like, Ford used to be Ford used to be it when it comes to manufacturing cars, and then they weren't, right? Like, then Toyota comes up with Lean Six Sigma, or like football. The Niners, they were a dynasty. Then the Cowboys, and then the Patriots. God, the Patriots were forever, but look at them now; they're horrible. Like, nothing sustains like the status quo for the duration of its life. Like, and what I'll say is, a lot, like, I was told that I would be on medicine forever. You're going to be on this medicine forever. And I fought that, and I got off of it. The only thing I'm on now is blood pressure medicine. And it's probably because I burn at both ends and, take everything too serious. But um, I would say to that person, like, keep moving forward, right? Define what forward is. And a lot of times forward will feel like nothing, spinning in circles. I feel like I spun in circles for years, and I didn't feel like I was moving forward. I didn't think I was even directionally accurate. But what I did
Right.
not do was, I had moments of despair, and I had moments of pity, and I had moments of hopelessness. But I never let those thoughts turn into actions to really, like, uh, even though I wasn't making any positive ground, I definitely wasn't moving. I wasn't allowing myself to get worse. I didn't. If I had a bad hour, like, I fought, like, I ran into that storm. The cows and buffaloes, right? You know that the cows and buffaloes both attack storms differently, right? Cows will run away from a storm, exhaust themselves, stop until the storm catches them, and then they'll continue to run until eventually, like, the storm hits them and they're fatigued and done. A bison sees a storm, they run into it. They run into the storm, they sprint into it because they know, genetically, I guess, that the best way to handle a storm is to run through it because that's the quickest way it's going to get through you, right? So, my focus early on through mentorship and people that I loved and that loved me, that there were times that I had a bad hour and those bad hours turned into a bad day. But then the following day, my goal was to make sure, like I always strive, like I'm not going to allow one bad day to turn into two. And some days I lost. But some days I won. And what happened was early on, I lost more than I won, but I kept fighting. Bad days turn into bad weeks sometimes. And then I'd reset and I'd have a good hour, right? I'd have a good day. And then I'll start over again. But you start winning, you start winning more and more. And then all of a sudden, like, that bad moment doesn't even turn to a bad hour anymore. It's just a bad moment. A bad day, you don't ever end the day, like, oh, this was a crap day. And you sit and reflect. And then you get your mind right. You go to bed. And then the next day, you're not even dealing with that stuff. So I remember a lot of people early on telling me, like, you got to have hope and it's going to be all right. Like, my buddy Brett from Fort Lee, he was a guy I talked to probably every day at that point. And just talking, just listening, right? And sometimes that's all you need. But I think that's what I would say. One, I've been there. There's people that have been there. I don't think I can save anybody. I don't, the same way of like, hey, I don't want to start a youth league. I don't want to save people, but I just want to tell them that they're not alone, and if they can take a couple pieces of what I did or what I know or what I did to get through some things, like, maybe that aids them in their journey. And that's, really what we've been talking about this whole time. And eventually it'll get better. If you keep fighting, keep moving forward, or you keep having a plan to move forward, shoot, move, communicate, like, you'll eventually get to a point where you start winning, like, because when it comes to mental health, you will win. You can win if you just keep fighting. If you take the L's quickly, one of my favorite things is I fail fast.
Fail fast.
I just something I believe in. Like, I fail every day. I wake up a sinner. I go to bed a sinner. I fail fast. I mess things up. I coach football. I tell my guys, like, hey, you guys are going to mess up how many things
I love
this
that you said.
How many things are you going to mess up today on football?
And we want to come to people. We want to have the fix.
We keep
and we want to have the
failures. We'll
you do this and this will happen and this everything.
Physically,
like, sometimes
for
it's
that
just.
Next
I mean, and I'm bad at it because we're action oriented.
Fail fast. Let your bad days be bad days. Right?
Gentlemen out there know what I'm talking about.
Have a bad week.
Sometimes
let it be a bad week.
Listen, shut up.
Let it go. Any point
we just want to fix stuff.
You can pivot.
Sometimes just being there,
and make it better.
Just being there for each other and listening. But if you're that one that's stuck in that muck, man, you cannot keep doing the same things and expecting different results. You got to switch something up or be open to switching something up and not being too proud to say, you know what, I don't got all this together. Because if the one thing that Cliff said when he opened that up was nothing permanent. And when you choose something like death by suicide or hurting yourself or hurting somebody else, that's a permanent action. And what I took from what you said, and I'm biased for it because I think about it all the time. I got a tattoo right here that CC drew for me. But this too shall pass. Like, all of this shit is temporary. Everything is finite. Like, we are but a speck. If you looked at the timeline of human beings, like, you can't even register us on the whole speck of it, right? Because we're that finite. And it's that temporary. So, as you said, you keep moving forward, and this too shall pass. I know you also went through some struggles we had talked about on your way out, and we talked a lot about sharing and embracing lessons and then sharing that with others to help them. And I know that's something you're passionate about when it comes to other people exiting from active duty. We've talked a lot about the psychological side of it, the physical side of it, and then the day-to-day of it. But what about like just setting yourself up? Do you think we do a good job of setting up our veterans for success?
Yeah. I mean, yes and no, right? Like, the veterans in define success. There are some veterans that set themselves up. I mean, yes and no, right? Like, I think the veterans that are most and define
Right.
success, right? There are some veterans that retire and they want to live on their retirement. They've set themselves up financially, so there's a lot of deltas, right? There's a lot of tangibles in what we can talk about here. But when it comes to, I guess, my own experience and awareness, most veterans are not financially secure to retire and live, their debt to income ratio or whatever it is, isn't where it needs to be. So when I see retirees or transitioning, who does it well? First term Marines. So, we talked a little before the recording, right? So, I owned a company at one point called Fidelis Resource Group. I ended up assisting over probably 350 veterans in transition of resume writing and interview prep because I took it in the face right when I got out. So at least I have, I guess, a resource pool of over 350 individuals that I can go ahead and form an opinion on. And I guess that's my disclaimer is, I can't talk about all the vets that, in the last decade, but I can talk about the ones I talked to and I helped. But the ones that do it well are the first termers. You know why? Because they're not thoroughly indoctrinated. And they're not, they, let's, yeah, I'll tell you, like, I really didn't get thoroughly indoctrinated till I hit by year 6. Like, I did my 4 years, but I was, Marine Corps boot camp does a good job and all that stuff. But during that first term, you're so many, like, your foot is halfway out the door most time anyways. Like, am I staying in? Am I getting out? What am I doing? You're going home on the weekends or whatever, but those guys do it good because they don't hit the staff academy. They don't do all these things, right? So they do really well when they get out, right? It's almost like a blip, it's like the Marvel's blip, like they do 4 years and then they're back and they're like, all right, I remember how to do this. And then you have your careers, whether they're retirees or not, then they transition to a DoD job, or one that requires a clearance. Those guys transition pretty seamlessly. They get a GS role somewhere and they're doing really well. They have the job before they end their service and they're hooking and jabbing and they're, around a base, those guys do well. But when it comes to career Marines who get out and push to a geographical area because of family, they go back home. There's a lot of people just go back home. I went back home. No, we are not doing well. Like we spoke before, I had a degree. I was a chief war officer. I had broken time. I went to SEPs and TAPs. I was the front row guy taking notes. I took those resources the Marine Corps paid to lead those classes, resume writing and transitioning. I took their information. I was calling them at night. I was sending them my resume. They were giving me pointers. They were doing all that stuff. I was ready to succeed, right? Like I did what I did mostly in the military, right? Like I was at DI school. I wanted to be I wanted to finish in X amount of percent, right? I was pushing to be excellent. And I knew going into first civ div, like I was a little more laser focused because I'm like, I'm going to a world I'm completely kind of unfamiliar with now. And I don't want to fail. And not only do I, for my own personal reasons, because I've never failed at anything in my life, I'm now making, I'm now taking my wife and kids with me. They're depending on me more than ever. Like where, TRICARE automatic and, they can go to commissary and exchange and there's so many things that are just automatic. So I do all that. I write my resume. I feel really good. I do my homework. I get out. I have an interview within 30 days. Feeling pretty good. I'm still getting paid. My retirement check hasn't even hit yet. Go to my first interview, this large Fortune 200 company, which makes them Fortune 200 basically is like of all the companies globally, they're top 200, right? When it comes to revenue, total revenue brought in. Big company. I go in, I get an interview. I sit down and I'm interviewing with this guy for like 10 minutes. He's Australian. Very nice and well-mannered, and he's completely dumbfounded. And, Cliff, I don't really understand what's a Marine Expeditionary Force. When you say you led, 400 Marines, what do you mean by leading them? Now, again, I was a chief warrant officer, in the comm world, which is pretty much the IT world in corporate America, in a sense. And he was so uncomfortable that I was uncomfortable. And the whole time in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how did I mess this up? So then this other guy comes in. Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. And by the way, we're 20 minutes into this interview, which means I had already been there 35 minutes because I was 15 minutes early than the interview, which, by the way, doesn't apply in corporate America. Guys will walk in on a 2:00 interview. That's 1400 for all you motivators. 15 minutes late, and it's completely acceptable, and it blows your mind. But anyways, he walks in. Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. Where are we at? And the one gentleman's like, well, we're about done. I think I got everything. And he looks at me. He's like, he just sits down. He's like, can I be honest with you? I was like, yeah, please be honest with me. He goes, your resume is shit. And I just started laughing. I was like, what? That's the only thing that could come out at that point. And he's like, you think that's funny? And I was like, yeah, you know what, sir? Yeah, I think that's hysterical. And he's like, can you explain to me why that's so funny? I was like, well, it's so funny because, the government, the Department of Defense has employed these resources to teach me how to do this. They told me I did everything right. They said I was set up for success. I'm ready, I'm ready to transition. And I sit down here and the first thing you tell me is it's shit. I was like, and we can either talk about how bad I messed up this piece of paper, or we can talk about what I really can do, how I can fill this job for you, and how much I will be able to learn in the first 30 days, because I can do this job. And I obviously have a lot to learn still when it comes to what we do here compared to what I did in the Marine Corps. I was like, but at the end of the day, it's people, and I can deal with people, and I can get work done. Well, this guy slaps the table. He starts laughing. He's like, man, I love jarheads. And I said, oh, okay. He's like, you're hired. Well, the guy that was interviewing me for already 20 minutes looks at him like, wait a minute. I'm not okay with this. He's like, no, he's hired. He's a chief warrant officer of the Marine Corps. This dude gets stuff done. He's like, this guy will occupy a city and stand up a government and, will marry like 8 locals and start,
I said, coach, pop out,
raising Americans in a foreign country if we want them to. And I'm completely lost. And I'm like, what is going on right now? And he's like, hey, listen, you're going to start Monday. It was a Thursday. You're going to start Monday. Come find me. And we'll go from there. Well, so he walks me down to the elevator, down to like the first floor to the coffee. We get a coffee. And I'm like, hey, is this, am I being punked right now? Like, what's going on? Yeah. Like, what's going on? And he's like, listen, I'm a retired major in the Marine Corps. He goes, I retired in 1991. He goes, I didn't do the things you did, but I am a Marine and I understand what Marines are. He goes, I've been out so long. I actually, I'm more civilian now than I ever was Marine. He's like, I forgot more than I can remember. He goes, your resume is crap. He goes, and I'm going to help you. And, you can do this job. You're doing me just fine. He's like, I'll see you on Monday. And that's a long story to get to how frustrated I was to be put in a position where I didn't feel like I could properly represent myself. So that's kind of, what ended up happening was within the first 30 days of my hire, there was a woman whose brother was a command sergeant major with like 34 years of service in the Army, who was retiring and was really struggling to find employment, and was like, hey, can you look at his resume? Would you mind giving him a call? Can you help him? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. And I did zero marketing or promotion for Fidelis Resource Group. It was all word of mouth and networking. And I'd get random emails, 3 to 12 a day sometimes, like, hey, can you help me? And I ended up, and by the way, like, never charge $1 for anybody. Ended up finding 3 other people to volunteer their time to help me with resume writing and interview prep. And we ended up helping, I believe, over 350 people. But yeah, it was pretty amazing. But like, I I was so emotionally broken from that experience. Like, it was my moment. Like, I retired. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna provide for my family, and I completely failed. And I've never had failed like that before. The Marine Corps, I never got to any teach backs at Paris Island and thought I was going to fail. You know why? Because my squad instructor at DI school had completely prepped me for everything. Like, I didn't go to the Battle of Ramadi and think I was going to lose anybody, because the leadership in the company made me feel like we had prepared to be completely successful. And I say all those things because it's the first time that the military has ever done anything where I felt like I got to the stage and I couldn't perform the way I was supposed to. And I didn't feel responsible at all. I felt like there is a disconnect. And I don't think I don't fault SEPs and TAPs. I think they do the best they can. Right. But, there's a gap, and I think to myself, what does the 4-year sergeant do, or the 4-year corporal, or what does the 8-year staff sergeant do? Like, with no degree, no certificates, no nothing. What do they do? Like, and that's I instantly thought of them, and I was fearful, and I just thought how many other people were feeling that way, and then I thought, no wonder veterans struggle to get out. Like, why? No wonder they're unemployed, or they're no wonder they're just laying concrete. And I don't want to say just laying concrete. Some guys, that makes their heart sing, and I'm happy for them. But like, a lot of times you see vets greeting people at Walmart because they feel like that's their ceiling, and that's not it. And that's that's the flip side of this transition thing. So I got the job I needed. I got right. I learned how to represent myself on paper, right? I learned how to give an elevator pitch about who I was and what I can do for people. I was headhunted away from that company to go to another company, and I got pulled away to go to the other company through networking and delivering on time and under budget. But that whole time, like my passion project was helping vets. And then, there's a flip side of that, of like that command sergeant major. He, I was taking my lunch, meeting him for coffee. We're eating meals, and what do you want to do? He's like, well, I lead 32,000 soldiers. I'm like, no, you don't. He's like, yeah. I'm a command sergeant major. I oversee like 32,000. I'm like, but you don't. Like, so what do you want to do? He's like, well, I want to be a COO. I'm like, of what company? He's like, any company. I'm like, no, that's not what you're going to do. You can't be the chief operating officer if you don't understand what business you're operating. And I said, listen, with all due respect, like, you are a leader of men. You can do that. But in this world, all men and women have a technical expertise. And if you're going to operate and run their operations, like, you've got to understand what they're doing. And I remember talking to him, and I was like, listen, I can get you a job being an HR manager. You are people and process. It's about 55 grand in Ohio on average. Nope, that's not for me. No, I'm good. Thanks for the resume tips. I got them all in there. Good luck. That guy 3 months later called me. Listen, man, I can't pay my bills. I can't do this. That HR manager job sounds good. And I said, listen, that's just a starting point. You can get a couple certs, you can do this, but you've got to show that you have some corporate America tie-ins.
Right.
And I told him, I said, you will have no problem running circles around people here. Like, you're going to strive for more responsibility. You're going to kill it, but you got to have a starting point. And that was 2015, and that guy is now a senior VP of HR for a Fortune 200 company, killing it. And but the flip side of that is that command sergeant major was like, I'm going to be a COO. And I was like,
what I hear there
crazy.
is the humility,
Like,
like you said,
not.
finding that starting point, and then you can
So,
branch from there. But you got to be humble enough to take that first starting point,
to answer your
apply
original
it
question of,
where
do
you're
we do a
at,
good job?
and then bloom where you're planted, like we're
we
always
don't
taught
do a
to
good
do,
job
and then take
through
it
some
from
of the
there
classes
after you start
and
understanding
transition. But at the same
the
time,
technical expertise of whatever field
us
or
military
company you
members
work in.
don't do a good job
So
of really
y'all heard
understanding
that,
where
folks.
we
Like, don't
fall
settle for
into
less.
the
Cliff's
world
not saying
outside of
lower
the
your
military.
ceiling, but be reasonable,
That's
in
why
managing your
the
expectations
first
as far
termers
as
get
where
out
to
and kill
start
it. You
out
know
at.
why? Because they're
And,
like,
I'm
I'm
a
going to
30
be
year
entry
this or I'm
level
a 20 year
anything,
that. Like, none of us have
and I'll
ever
be
made
fine.
it. Like, and I think sometimes we do that to ourselves too. While we're like Uncle Rico from damn Napoleon Dynamite and shit. You know what I mean? I throw that ball over that mountain right there. You know what I mean? It's like, chill out, bro. Chill out, right? You got to be humble. And that goes into anything. Country songs, be humble, stay kind, all that good stuff, right? But it goes a long way. But don't hear it the wrong way, because there's an art there, and it's not a black and a white. There's a gray there of what Cliff's saying is that, manage your expectations, be willing to be humble and take what you can get to get a starting point. But at the same time, don't think that you just have to go out and grab a broom and literally sweep the sidewalk. Like, that might be what it is for a little bit, but be humble. But at the same time, use it as a starting point to strive. Did I encapsulate that decent with?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Again, I just, somewhere in the military along the line,
I'm the shit.
I'm a major, or I'm a team officer.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think, I just, somewhere in the military along the line, we think,
Target
I'm
21,
a
you are
command
shooting on
sergeant major, and
23
I'm
target.
going to be this when I get out, or I'm a major, or I'm a chief officer, or I'm a gunny, whatever it is. But like, at the end of the day, like, you talk about like, oh, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Well, so I believe in that, but at the same time, like, if we're talking about hitting hitting a target, like understand what your target is really. Like you can't hit the black. You can hit the black, but what if that's not even the right target? Like what are we doing? Like right. Those are misses, man. Those are misses. You're going to apply for all these COO jobs, but that ain't the target right now, right? Like you're not ready to represent yourself in that way, and it has nothing to do with your inability to lead 32,000 people, because I believe that guy could have stepped in and led 32,000 people better than any COO that might be out there. But the technical side of what you do is so important, right? So at the end of the day, one thing I always try to push veterans to is entrepreneurship. Like veterans, military members are have like an entrepreneur heart, right? Like they're go-getters. Like it's now, I'm not talking about franchise opportunities. Like don't go and buy a Papa John's for $1.7 million like that. Don't do that. But when I see guys that get into carpentry, and they're running their own carpentry business, I didn't help any of those guys. They were writing their own book, man. Like they were doing, like I know a guy that does excavating, and he does excavating, and he like lays gravel for like out in rural areas, like driveways. I didn't have to help him. You know why? Because he was motor T in the Marine Corps. He knew how to work heavy machinery, and he knew what he wanted to do, and he had an entrepreneur heart, and he worked his butt off, and that guy's killing it right now. The carpenter, retired captain, and just did woodworking stuff, and all he wanted to
plug
do
away,
was
man. Hey, we are
that when he
sponsored
got
by
out, and
nobody,
he
so
had a
plug
pitch,
away.
and he pitched it.
Yeah.
Those guys,
I got bought out by
those guys are great because they don't have to play by someone else's rules. They're playing by their own rules. They have a service. They're offering a service at a good price, and that's it. Those guys that are trying to jump into corporate America and get these jobs, like listen, man, you got to find their playbook. You got to find what their targets. You got to hit it or not. So I would try to push, entrepreneurship. Like that's one thing we did with my company that I no longer own, by the way. So I'm not plugging that on your podcast. I got bought out, which was great. No, man. Yeah. No, I got bought out by a company that has way more resources and ability to help more people than I ever could. But we always push to entrepreneurship or education, right? And one thing I was happy about, like the 350 don't count people. We got to we got them transitioned to some inpatient care, right, locally or regionally.
Triage.
A lot of people can't. That's why I always have a heart for vets and Marines. But like, I sit and meet a guy for coffee, and I just see his hollow eyes, and the stress on his face, and he wants to ask me like what he got to do because he's got to provide for his family. Like, hey man, like I'm gonna help you do that, but let's help stop the bleeding, restore the breathing, right? Like which one we got to do first, kind of thing. So yeah, man, we that's the other thing, like understand your target, right? Like, you got to put your mask on first on an airplane before you put anyone else's on, so, and a lot of guys, including myself, I got my final DD-214 in retirement. I'll put the boots up and I use the boots as a metaphor, like a cape.
Yeah.
When you're able to put the cape up finally, when you put the boots away, you have no idea what residuals you have. And I saw it in the 350 I helped. I saw it with another, 20 to 40 that I helped outside of resume writing. When we've all, I would say that the majority of your listeners are probably military guys. Like we all had that first sergeant say, hey, we're going to go for a 3-mile run. Okay, cool. And we all know the courses, right? Whether it's River Road on Lejeune or, the Sugar Cookie Run and 20 Palms. But when all of a sudden you hit 3 miles in your mind, you're like, hey, first sergeant, this is more than 3 miles. What are you doing? And all of a sudden 3 turns into 4 and 4 turns into 5. Like, I guess my tie in there is a lot of military guys get to the finish line. They get to retirement, they get done. They're like, I'm done. But when you're done and you no longer have to wear the cape, you don't no longer have to wear the boots, then you deal with some residual stuff. Like I don't have, it's a role. Like, and maybe some Marines might disagree with me, but if you're a hat or you're a Marine, you're a role playing at some point. You're a role playing because at any time you are going to take young Marines, you're going to take subordinates, peers, and leaders into a combat area, and you're going to have to lead. And you can say you're authentic all you want, but you're also playing a role. We all calling in our inner chesty a little bit. Like
That's right.
We're all kind of role playing a little bit, like to be the leader that the people deserve. Some of it's authentic, but some of it is, I'm going to be tough because you need to be tough right now. I'm going to be this guy, leaders eat late, last, things like that. But you hang the boots up, and then it's like, wait, I don't have to be that no more. And then I just got to be myself. And that's shocking enough for some people. Like, I'm not Chief Officer Reynolds no more, right? I'm not Captain Campbell. I'm not Sergeant Major so-and-so. I'm not that no more. I'm just Cliff. And then it's like, maybe some things happen, right? Like some residuals come up, like whatever it is. But like, at the end of the day, like you got to understand your target. You got to understand, you got to put your own mask on before you put others' mask on too. Transition. Yeah, it's a topic that I think we can spider web out in a lot of different directions. But the biggest thing, if I had to give it a headline, like find your tribe, like I tell you, man, I could do this podcast every week, not because I got something to say, but because I just want to talk to you, like I want to talk to like-minded people, I want to talk to like-minded people because all my people, all the other lines I know are all shotgun blasted across the U.S. And I can hit them up on Messenger, on whatever social platform. I got some of their numbers. But like, my issue is this: some guys I'm gonna talk to daily, some guys I'm gonna talk to weekly, sometimes monthly, sometimes annually, sometimes maybe never again. Maybe never again. I made this Marine Corps birthday post, and I kind of made something like that, and I had a guy named Randall Workman like it, who we were hats with on Paris Island. And I love Randall Workman, but I might not ever talk to him ever again the rest of my life. And is that okay or not? I don't know. Like, were we super close? No. Were we enemies? No. But I would consider, like, if we were all back at Paris Island, I'd talk to Randall Workman a whole bunch right now. I would. Like, he'd be one of my people, And the thing about it is like, we all get lost into our lives of what we're doing next. And the most I hear you say all the time, the most valuable resource is time. And I agree with you. And I would, if you're going to say the most valuable resource is time, then I would say the next most valuable thing is the people you spend your time with. And that's my thing. I gotta be around more people. I gotta talk to more people that fill my time, because it's like leveling up. It's like Super Mario growing. I hit that mushroom, whatever, and I grow bigger. Like when I'm around y'all, or I'm around you, or around some other guys, like I level up. I feel better. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, I'm gonna feel better. In my first 30 minutes of misery, I'm gonna have a better day tomorrow. And if that's the case, then why am I not being a little more proactive to get that in my life more? Like, it's so easy to send a text, but like, to be intentional, like, what we need to do? We need to turn this, like, we need to turn this podcast, like, not this podcasted, but we need to make this an appendage, and we need to make this like an open call to whoever wants to join, where we can just have a topic of the day, all us old farts that are retired, and just sit and just be around each other and be challenged. I want you to tell me when I'm being stupid. I want someone else to tell me. I want to be able to look at someone and be like, man, you're good. What are you doing? Like, don't be worried about that. But I don't get that kind of stuff where I'm at now. Like, I'm the guy people call when they need something. I'm the guy people call when they need checked. I'm the guy they call when they need saved. Right? Like, I don't got those people. So when you don't, when you're my person that does that, right? Like, so when you do that, and I am in Central Ohio, alone and unafraid, that gets exhausting, like, cause I'm filling into other people's bucket and ain't no one ever filling into mine. Right. Right. Yeah. Just flowing, man. Yeah. 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 Dude, that Kanye quote, yeah, that Kanye quote, man, you hit me with it in 2009, right? Like, we were doing our officer packages, and I ended up going chief warrant officer, and you went MESAP. But I remember you texted me that, man, and that, like, I use it randomly, but you probably read it. We're like, oh man, I love that, and it probably didn't even resonate with you that like it, you planted that in me like 14 years ago. And yeah, I posted it, but like, yeah, like that was '09, man. Like, when you first hit me with that. So, yeah, life comes full circle. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I saw that video you running over there. I instantly got jealous, man. I tell you, I can't wait to get back December 1st. But like, you know, you always, you not always, but you often reference that song, right? Measure of a Man. And I remember you talking about it. Like I remember you sitting in my kitchen, Quang Tri Way, Paris Island. And you're like, hey, what's your favorite Elton song? And I'm like, oh, it's whatever it was, right? And then you hit me with that song, and I'm like, I remember I gave you that kind of like that puppy look. I turned my, I'm like, oh, yeah, and and now I'm a Rocky fan, so I knew the song, but I was like, I got to dive into these lyrics, man. But like, a couple lines I can think of, right? Like, and these are what's funny is like, as Marines, we we take pride in never having new shit, always having broken shit, always having to SL3 some stuff to get it fixable, and garden hose your Humvee to for something, and same as our bodies. Like, that's right. Like, we always running and talking about how broke we are, and all these old salts are talking about the same thing, but like, you know our service to country might be over, but if you keep your service heart to the world or to the people or to your community, like, then that kind of badge of honor that you had in the military should just carry you forever. And that's something I think I lost when I was like, I'm done service my country. I don't know what I'm going to service. Like, man, there's so many things that need fixed in this world. Like, you want to change the world, make your bed. You want to change your town, start a youth football program. I don't know, but like, that song, like, that you dropped on me, like, I listened to it randomly, but like, it opens up with like, these battered hands are all you own. The broken heart has turned to stone. Like, it talks. It's the fire in the eyes, the lines on the hand. Like, when you think about that, it's the fire in the eyes, the lines on the hand. Like, it's the passion, right? Like, I'm an old dude, but I still got passion. I'll grab the clipboard and clock in, and the lines on my hand, and I tell my kids, I got a 11-year-old daughter who's the sweetest thing ever, and I tell her every day, like, Dad's getting old. Dad, you're not getting old. I'm like, got gray in my beard. She's like, not that much. I said, babe girl, that's okay. Like, I said, I got gray in my beard. I, my, I got a limp in my walk. My bones crack. It's because I lived hard. I danced hard. There's some nights I drank too hard. A couple nights I smoked too many cigarettes. I don't smoke no more, or I never really smoked, but like, there were nights I did. And, you know, yeah, it's a nice, I'm wearing someone else's shoes, coming from a Waffle House maybe, but like, I, the fire in my eyes, the lines on my hand, right? Like, the life I have is what I make it. And I'm weathered because I've weathered myself, and I've weathered myself because I served a lot to the military. I didn't give any more than anyone else did. Like, guys have given more than me. There's guys that never came home. So I I'm not I don't look at it as like I've served more, but I've served. I served the military the way it wanted me to. I did everything it asked me to do. I served my Marines. I served my leadership. And then I got out, and I kind of like, what, I don't really serve no more. And that's not true, right? Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I try to do a better job of, yeah, I try to do a better job of, a lot of guys retire and they're like, oh, I'm going to get better at being a dad. I'm going to get better at being a husband. Like, that's service, man. I'm going to get involved with my American Legion and VFW. That's service. Like, I'm going to help vets with resume writing, transitioning. That's service. I'm just going to randomly talk or reach out to dudes every month. Like, that's service. I'm going to make sure I'm mentally, emotionally, and spiritually sound. Like, that's, whether you like it or not, that's still service. Like, Yeah. I for sure. And listen, man, like I'm a quote guy. You're a quote guy. I mean, I think you're better at than me. Like, man, you got so many tools in the toolbox when it comes to quotes. I think I find a couple that I love, and I just, I shoot them out like over and over again. But I'm like one of those belt fed toys where it's just one belt, right? And you're like, man, how's that gonna just keep going through the same way? Like no new rounds. But one thing, like, you know, when you think about the Marine Corps, and this is, maybe something like I can end with, but like, you're a quote guy, but like in the military, it should be no different than when you're done or whatever, even if you're not in the military. Like when you serve to become, not acquire, right? Like I served in the military to become a leader, to become something. I didn't serve to acquire leadership. It's not something. I became something. I served to become, not acquire. And I think, you know, that's something. I think if you look at your body of work or whatever you're doing, and if you're struggling, right, in resiliency, like if you start going down a path of becoming something or helping someone else become something, then I think that's the path that's going to get you right quicker than if you're struggling and it's, I need this, or if nothing you acquire is going to bring you any kind of internal peace or peace, but becoming, right, like, or helping someone else become, I think really, that's at the core of service. And I think that's where I'm at now, like coaching and teaching, where I don't care about the money. I don't care about anything else. Like I wake up with a smile. I wake up with a purpose. And I've become something where I can help others become. Yeah. Yeah. A great message. It is. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think that when you acquire, you're at a finish, you're at a stopping point. I've acquired. But when you're becoming, that's that's still you never stop if you're becoming, right? And you talk about youth, and listen, I could probably, again, I could go on for hours, but in the 2 years ago, I coached a kid whose grandfather was my junior high and high school coach in basketball and football. And we got done with the season, and I looked at this young man, and I thought, there's pieces of you, there's pieces of you that I gave from me, but there's some of me, of my foundation, that your grandfather gave me. And I thought to myself, like, imagine if he had done a shit job, or what if he didn't really have a passion in coaching or mentoring, or if he showed up just angry one day, but he never did. He gave me his complete self, inspired me, gave me great lessons that and now his grandson is now under my charge. And I like that moment to me was pretty big that I called out to a lot of people, and including my old coach and his grandson. I'm like, look how amazing this is. Like, you don't think about the ripples that happen within decades. I mean, that was in '92 when he coached me the first time. He had no, I mean, he didn't have a grandson at that point. Like, his own son were peers. It was a peer of mine. Like, and so when you think about just being positive, just making the right decisions, becoming or trying to become or help someone else become, like, if it's truly authentic and man, like the residuals where 30 years later, I mean, it's now his lessons are now impacting his own grandson through another medium, right? Another channel like me. I just thought that was pretty amazing. Like, and it's one thing, it's one thing that I now don't take for granted. And I'm very mindful of like what I give to people, because I can have bad days, but I can't show up and give them anything bad. Like that fruit could get passed down to my grandson one day. Who knows? Especially if you ain't going nowhere, right? Like, I'm probably in Central Ohio forever now. Yeah. 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 Yeah, man. Yeah. That's right. That's right. It's good. Oh man, it's good. It's good, man. I think what you're doing is impactful. It's important. I think it's raw. I think that makes it better. Bringing in a guy like me who like is long gone, like I ain't worried about the UCMJ, man. I'm speaking from love and truth and honesty, and my own downfalls, my own falls, my own stumbles, right? Like we need more than that. We need more of that. We do. I think I needed more of that when I transitioned, when I was getting out, when I was young. I got a lot of told of what I should be, and I was a lot of those things, guys. Yeah, I felt like I was a good Marine, but um, it what you're doing here is authentic. It's real with real people and authentic people, man, and it's a village. You're in Paris Island, I'm in Central Ohio, and we just got to spend 2.5 hours with each other. And it's the first time since 2017? I don't know. 16? 16. That's right. That's right. That's right. And that shit don't comb down right. Right here. Right here on my head. This won't go down. Oh, what? I'm good now? All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I I listen, I appreciate it. You ever have a gap in your schedule and you need someone to talk, I'll do it. I'm always down. You talk about a coach. I'm gonna end with this if that's okay. The Jim Tressel was my coach at Jim Tressel was my coach at Ohio State. I was only there for a short time, but he uh he ended every team meeting with this, and it's something that um most Buckeyes recite weekly or say weekly, or it's something that I tell myself weekly. I usually did it Fridays before so I coach varsity football, and before we take off for the game. But he said this, and I am only one, but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And that I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I shall do. I'll send that to you. Yeah, brother. I'm gonna pull it up again. Oh, I get the music and everything. I like it. At one point, I had it memorized. All right, here we go. I'll probably need to. So, all right, it goes like this. I am only one, but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And that I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I shall do. Yeah. Yeah, brother.